This is going to keep happening as long as they keep artificially modifying the weather. It should be illegal for anyone to artificially modify the weather. That is something that we should all be able to agree on. Unfortunately, as you will see, it has now come out that this has been happening all over the western half of the United States. In fact, cloud seeding operations were being conducted in Texas just 2 days before horrific flooding killed a whole bunch of innocent children. The information that I'm going to share with you in this video is explosive, and I hope that you will share it with as many people as you can. The company that has been conducting cloud seeding operations in Texas is called Rainmaker Technology. Rainmaker Technology CEO Augustus Dorico is claiming that his company had nothing to do with the recent flooding because his company did not do any cloud seeding in Texas on July 3rd or July 4th. But he is admitting that his company was doing cloud seeding in Texas on July 2nd. Here's the report. Overnight from July 3rd to 4th, moisture surged into the hill country from the Pacific as remnants of Tropical Storm Barry moved across the region. At 1 a.m. on July 4th, the National Weather Service, NWS, which we work closely with to maintain awareness of severe weather systems, issued a flash flood warning for San Angelo, Texas. Note, summer convective cloud seeding operations in Texas do not occur during overnight hours. At 4 a.m. on July 4th, the NWS issued a life-threatening emergency warning, and flooding ensued. Did Rainmaker conduct any operations that could have impacted the floods? No. The last seeding mission prior to the July 4th event was during the early afternoon of July 2nd, when a brief cloud seeding mission was flown over the eastern portions of south central Texas, and 2 clouds were seeded. These clouds persisted for about 2 hours after seeding before dissipating between 3 p.m. and 4 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Natural clouds typically have lifespans of 30 minutes to a few hours at most, with even the most persistent storm systems rarely maintaining the same cloud structure for more than 12 to 18 hours. The clouds that were seeded on July 2nd dissipated over 24 hours prior to the developing storm complex that would produce the flooding rainfall. A senior meteorologist observed an unusually high moisture content prior to the event's arrival, using NWS sounding data. It was at this point that our meteorologist determined that we would suspend future operations indefinitely. As you can see, we suspended operations on July 2nd, a day before the NWS issued any flood warning. This is a bombshell. We don't want people seeding our clouds. This should be illegal. It turns out that Rainmaker Technology CEO Augustus Dorico is just 25 years old, and his company has been heavily funded by billionaire Peter Thiel. Let's listen to this tweet. Meet Augustus Dorico, a 25-year-old tech bro and Thiel fellow who founded the weather modification startup, Rainmaker. According to publicly available info, Dorico's company was reportedly cloud seeding over parts of Texas just 2 days before historic flooding hit those same regions. He received $100,000 through Peter Thiel's fellowship, the same Thiel who co-founded Palantir, the surveillance and defense tech giant tracking everything from troop movements to civilian behavior. Let that sink in. Why is a Palantir-connected billionaire funding private weather experiments in Texas? Why is a 25-year-old with no public oversight allowed to modify the sky? They called it stewarding the natural world. Texas got biblical flooding instead. This isn't a theory. It's documented, privately funded, and totally unregulated. No vote, no consent, no accountability. Just Thiel money, weather manipulation, and a flooded state left asking questions. Whoever approved cloud seeding operations in Texas needs to resign immediately. But this isn't just happening in Texas. In fact, according to the official website of the North American Weather Modification Council, most states in the western half of the nation are actively conducting cloud seeding operations. What these states are doing is extremely dangerous. They need to stop it now before more people die. Thankfully, there are a few politicians that are determined to take action. For example, U.S. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene has introduced a bill that would ban anyone from modifying or altering the weather. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene introduced a bill intended to block any government or private effort to modify or alter the weather, directly referencing geoengineering and atmospheric interventions. Although introduced in the context of recent Texas weather events, the bill is grounded in older conspiracy narratives rather than new scientific evidence. The text of the bill closely mirrors the language used by online groups that have promoted the chemtrail theory. The proposal has received no mainstream scientific support. Good for her. Unfortunately, many other members of Congress are still attempting to deny that weather modification even exists. One of those members of Congress is Senator Ted Cruz. Senator Ted Cruz dismissed talk about weather modification Monday, saying there is zero evidence to support claims that the government is manipulating the weather. The Texas Republican made the comments in response to a proposed bill by Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, which aimed to ban atmospheric interventions, a move rooted in long-debunked chemtrail theories. The internet can be a strange place, Cruz said at a press conference this morning. People can come up with all sorts of crazy theories. Are you kidding me? Somebody please send this video to Senator Cruz. It is time for the madness to end. Of course, even if weather modification ends here in the United States, other countries will continue to do it. Those that are engaged in this practice are destabilizing weather patterns that have been relatively stable for thousands of years. So now we have a real crisis on our hands. A couple of decades ago, we would be hit by a major weather disaster a few times a year. Now, they are hitting us constantly. In fact, Tropical Storm Chantal just hammered the Carolinas. Chantal made landfall in South Carolina as a tropical storm, but has since weakened to a tropical depression after losing strength over land. However, the National Hurricane Center, NHC, warned it still poses a threat of tropical storm conditions to millions this week. The storm unleashed up to 10 inches of rain across central North Carolina on Sunday, inundating homes, submerging roads, and stranding numerous drivers. More than 17,000 residents in Orange and Chatham counties remain without power due to downed trees and power lines. When I woke up this morning, I learned that parts of Chapel Hill were literally underwater. The Chapel Hill Fire Department and neighboring agencies completed more than 50 water rescues, many of them in areas where floodwaters entered or threatened to enter apartments, the town of Chapel Hill said in a news release early Monday. More than 60 people were displaced. Some rescues also took place at shopping centers, where water flooded parking lots and businesses. The town warned residents to be careful as they ventured out Monday morning, while crews continued to assess the damage. Yes, there have been storms and floods all throughout history. But what we are witnessing now is not even close to normal. Those that have been messing with the weather should be absolutely ashamed of themselves. We live at a time when major apocalyptic disasters are happening all around us, and they are making things even worse. Those that are playing God by modifying our weather belong in prison, but I doubt that they will ever be held accountable. In fact, many of our politicians will continue to insist that cloud seeding isn't even happening. Sadly, much of the population will actually believe them.